Gail Zergerman, and this is Growing Older with Gusto. Each episode, I interview people who are growing older in an inspiring way. Whether you're 30, 60, or 80 years of age, these interviews will help to conquer your fear of aging. Please subscribe to our channel and check out our website at www.growingolderwithgusto.com. Hello, fellow super agers, and welcome to the podcast Growing Older with Gusto. My name is Gail Zergerman, and I'm the host of this podcast, which we created to help younger generations learn how to grow older in a positive and productive way. And today we're reaching across the pond to the UK to chat with Andrew Middleton, who's founder of a company called INDY, I-N-D-Y. No, it's not the Indianapolis 500 if you're here in the United States. He's over there, and the acronym stands for I'm Not Done Yet. It gives voice to many people all over the world who are over the age of 50, who are working hard to grow older with gusto, but need a little help. They need a little lift to perhaps combat ageism or help to reinvent themselves. So Andrew's company, INDY, gives a new perspective on how to grow older by drawing upon his past work and personal experiences, and he just wants to help other people enjoy their life, move forward, and be productive. He has a lot of good stuff to share with us today, and we're excited. He's our first international guest on the podcast, Growing Older with Gusto. So here we go. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be your first international guest.
You are.
I really feel quite privileged.
You have a lot to say. It was delightful chatting with you a few weeks ago, and your company's very exciting. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what you call the INDY generation. What is it?
The I'm not done yet. I got very frustrated that there are lots of terms out there for older people, for seniors, but there was nothing that really was inspiring. You know, in the UK, it's very much a question of you're older, you're in later life, you're elderly. And I wanted a title that really reflected those people who may be over 50, but they were living life, as you say, with gusto. You know, they really.
Well, we're a product of the 60s, right? And
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is part of it. You know, this is the generation who grew up in the summer of love, or maybe, you know, they were in the punk rock generation. And of course, they're not going to be the same as people who grew up before. They're going to be a little bit more rebellious.
Right.
You know,
kicking and screaming all the way. They don't want to be like generations that went before that people thought, let's throw them under the bus. They don't know anything. So, right?
No, and they really are. They're going to stick their heels in. They're going to live life to the full. And I think this is a huge societal change that's going on. And I think a lot of people better beware, because, you know, some of us indies are really going to shake the world up. But the interesting thing is, I think there are people now in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s who are indies who don't even know it. You know, they're rebellious. They're kind of doing incredible stuff. And I
Absolutely.
keep them.
I do too. Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing.
You know, I think when we last spoke, I was talking about the guy who'd gone back to university and got a degree. So he graduated aged 86. And you think, you know, go do it. So this is the whole idea of the INDY concept. Can we describe that generation?
And talk to us a little bit about what you term the INDY tribes and how they're evolving. What is that exactly?
Well, it's interesting. The more I studied, this kind of societal change, I noticed kind of 7 distinct streams, what I call the 7 tribes coming out of it. And this was direction that indies were going. So the 7 tribes, and I'm going to try and rename them all off the top of my head. There are the community indies. Those are the indies who are really going out there for the community. They're making social change. They're making social impact. They're changing stuff. There are the love indies. They're the ones who are looking for perhaps a new relationship. They've got to a certain age and they've thought, well, I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to make this work. There are the fitness indies, those who are taking a real these are the marathon runners, the triathletes. They're taking an interest in their fitness. And when we spoke last, I think I mentioned to you Ian, who age 64 was running triathlons, coming from a place in his 50s where he would never have done it. There are the entrepreneurial business indies, those who are starting companies. And I've met incredible people in their 70s and 80s who are starting fabulous companies and running brilliant companies. There's the eco indies. The eco indies are saving the world.
Okay.
I guess.
Are these the idealists? You would normally call them idealists, or?
There might be, but kind of the Extinction Rebellion type people going out there, living a real green life. There are those who are really getting deep into their families. They're looking after their children. They're becoming, in a traditional sort of, many years ago, we would have called them elders. They've got wisdom. And then there's a whole bunch that I've struggled to find a name for them, but I call them the New Horizon indies. And they're traveling, they're taking on a new skill, they're painting, they're potting, they're going out there and doing stuff they always wanted to do, but they're thinking now's the time to do it. So those are my 7 tribes that I've kind of noticed out there.
Those are interesting. And I've noticed them too. What if somebody's has a little bit of each of those tribes? What do you call that tribe?
Well, I guess that's just the indie thing, as an indie, you're a bit rebellious.
Maybe you're super indie, right? If you have a little bit of it.
Yeah, I love it. I'll take that. you might have 3 or 4 traits. You might be looking for love. You might be changing your community through art and saving, the world at the same time.
Exactly. So tell us about the I'm Not Yet Done mission that you created to help people really shine while they're growing older with gusto, hopefully, or trying to.
I think it's quite rebellious. I mean, there's kind of 3 things that I've really tried to do through I'm Not Done Yet. One is I wanted this sort of almost calling, flag that you could follow. You could call yourself an indie so that people could aspire to be an indie. And I think people find that quite useful to say I'm an indie. It's an identity that people can actually understand and get behind. And it kind of enables you to change your mindset when you're an indie. I've also been very keen on promoting role models and stories so that people can see people just like them, because sometimes you need a little nudge. You need to see that someone over there is doing that and you think, I can do that. And I call that people like me. And then the third thing is I found quite a few people who've kind of got stuck. They get to that point probably around about 57, 58 into their 60s. And there's a lot of transition there. And people sometimes need a little bit of help to rethink it, to realize they can be an indie. They may have been, vice president of sales in their company. Now there's something different. So I've developed some techniques to help people over that sort of sticky period and to really start enjoying life.
That's great. I know there are a lot of my contemporaries, women particularly, that I know of, who they all get to a certain age and it's like, well, I've done this for so many years and I want to do something else, but I don't know what it is. So I think that's where you fit in. Your company would be great.
I do. And people do struggle to leave behind old identities, particularly if we've had 30 or 40 years, in sales or accounting or law or whatever it is. And then suddenly you're not that anymore and you've got to work out. And sometimes you need that help just to get over that sort of little bump in the road.
Right. And it sounds ideal. It sounds like you have so much to draw upon. And it's interesting. I know that you mentioned you worked for American Express in your corporate career over in the US. And
I did, yes. I spent many happy days in Phoenix, and I worked in Manhattan as well. So really enjoyed it. So I'm a strange kind of hybrid myself, because I've learned a lot from American business, from US business, and that's kind of shaped. Perhaps that's where the rebellious part of me comes from. Interesting.
I know you mentioned to me you have a process that you refer to as the clarity process to overcome getting stuck. I mean, I see really clearly now. I had cataract surgery, so I'm seeing clearly, but I know what you mean. So what exactly is the process? Can you walk us through that?
Okay, so each letter really represents a stage of the journey. So if we start with C for clarity, that's build confidence, because I found that a lot of people, when they get to that kind of sticky point, they actually need to build confidence. Their confidence has been taken away. So the first stage is to work with someone to actually get a level of confidence, a nice solid base you can work on. The next one, the L, is leave behind fears and regrets, because what you tend to find is people start saying, well, I could have done this, I could have done that. I can't get out of this, I can't do that. And you need to work on that. So that's the L. The A is articulate your future. So many people sort of do more of the same, and they don't step back and actually say, well, what is it I could be? What is it I could do? And some time actually visualizing what it is you really want and what you don't want, importantly, is really helpful. So the R is review your circumstances, because at some point you've really got to be true to yourself, and you've got to look with a level of reality about what's going on. If you haven't got any money, you haven't got any money. If your health is failing, your health is failing. So, but look at it in a very realistic manner, step back from it and work out where you are. Where are we? C-L-A-R.
I.
The I is investigate your future. There's so much change going on. There are so many trends, and you cannot plan unless you know what's going to be happening. So it makes sense to spend some time just working out what's going to work for you and what's going to work against you. And eventually you can pull all of that together. Where are we? R-I-T, transformation strategy, a good, solid plan. And I usually get people to come up with 3 plans, actually. Their A plan, which is everything works well. This is what I'm going to do. Their B plan, because things don't always work well. So you've got to have some steps in there.
A backup plan, plan B.
A backup plan. But then, rather unusually, I have the Z plan. And the Z plan is everything goes really badly wrong. What do you do? Now, I didn't used to do this, but I've learned to do it for 2 reasons. The first reason is it's very motivating to know what the Z plan is. When you actually see what it could be, you think, I'm not going to do that. And the other thing is, I found that people, when they're enacting their A or their B plan, are looking over their shoulder and saying, but what if, what if? What if? You've got the Z plan, you've got it written down. So A, B, and Z plan. And then the Y is yield results. And I found that people need a support structure to help them. You can't just say, here's a nice plan, go and here's a nice strategy, go and make it happen. People need you to walk alongside them and help them on the way. There will be times when things don't work out and people need a little bit of support. A good support network is very invaluable. So that's the clarity process. So
you're sort of you serve as an advisory board of sorts to the people that you're helping in a way.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I've thought, am I a mentor? Am I a coach? But actually, I'm more a trusted advisor. Sometimes I'm just helping people think through their journey and just guide them on the way.
Yeah, so this is just off the top of my head. Can you think of sort of a recent example of somebody quickly that you could talk about without naming them, but how you helped them and they went through your process, maybe that
sure.
You, would want to share with us?
Yeah, well, I have all sorts of people. One of the interesting ones I worked with recently was Graham. I won't say too much to identify him, but he was a lawyer. And he had a very comfortable practice, but over time it's been eroded by technology.
It happens.
People out there, started going online. Some big companies were able to. He was a small town lawyer, basically, and basically we took him through the process, and in going through it, certainly in the investigating the future, he realised that his world was going to be eroded. He needed to make a change, and he actually when we talked about his articulating the future, he didn't want to be indoors. He'd spent all his life being indoors, and he actually wanted to be outdoors. Now, the strategy that we came up with for Graham, he actually became a city guide, and he loves it now.
Wow.
He sold it. I know it's a huge change. He sold his business. He was able to get out while there was some money to get out of the business, and he was able to invest that. But he's doing something that he really enjoys. He loves the history. He loves walking. He's probably taking a good few US tourists, well, in normal times,
right,
around his local city.
That's great.
And he really just had to think a little bit out of the box.
That's a great story. That is wonderful. So I'm wondering, like, how would people reach you if our listeners are hearing this wonderful interview with you and they want to reach out to you? Now, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, my website is I'm not done yet. .co.uk.
Okay.
So it's a UK website, but I'm in LinkedIn. I'd love to link in via LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram as well. So, but
you're connected. You really are.
I'm not sure about that, but probably the best way to get hold of me is via the website. Okay. So I'm not done yet. .co.uk.
Sounds great. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you again and sharing all you have to talk about with INDY with all our listeners. So we really appreciate your taking the time today, and it's been wonderful.
Thank you. I'm very privileged to be your first international guest. I shall take that one definitely. And what I was so happy to talk is I see, growing older with gusto is the same as being an INDY. Basically, we're on the same path.
We're on the same path.
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely is right. Anyway, have a great evening. I know it's evening over there, so enjoy the rest of the evening, and I hope to talk with you again sometime soon.
That would be absolutely great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please subscribe to our channel and check out our website at www.growingolderwithgusto.com.